Let's talk about the greatest album ever made after my narrative album and after Talent the 10th and after Turn My Life Up and after. They're all the greatest albums. On March 30th, 2010, I was able to release my second album, Lions and Liars. So there's a few things that informed this album. One, I was close to about 30 years old, so I was maturing in life. 2 years before I released Lions and Liars, my father passed away, and so that was something I was dealing with. And around the same time, my wife and I found out that our son was on the autism spectrum. So I'm dealing with all these things that adults deal with, plus I'm married 7 years, and I'm just trying to figure out life. But also around this time was the death of Oscar Grant, and there were other racial issues and tensions that I was facing, and I just knew that I couldn't just keep making music and just avoid these tensions that were ever present before me. So here I am trying to figure out, what does it mean to be a creative in this world, to also love Jesus, but to also be a black man in America. So I was like, well, let me write about it. So I'm going to give you a song by song survey so that you can kind of see what we were thinking. And then we're going to interject some interviews that I had with people, and it's going to be awesome.
Extinction, the dying out or termination.
First song, Extinction intro, produced by Alex Medina, who produced a number of tracks on this album. All right, now check this out. The voice you hear at the very beginning of that is my man Aaron Cassidy. If you remember my first album, Keep It 100, the same voice. I wanted to just talk about what does it mean for lions to master their domain, but also there's external pressures, not only from Satan, not only from the world, but even within ourselves that want to remove that tenacity out of us as Christians who want to master the domain for the Lord. And what you'll hear is my daughter giving commentary to how some of us are not necessarily dead, but our spirituality is dormant.
Daddy, he's not dead. He's just tired.
Some of y'all out here sleeping. Step your game up. My daughter was woke at 4. Produced by the late, great DJ Official. Just a beast and a monster. A wonderful, wonderful man. And he produced a lot of songs on this album, so you're going to hear his name a lot.
One thing I remember about Fish is we would be in the tour bus and we would sit back because, we would tour before this album, we toured after. And I just remember sitting back there and having my own wrestles with, like, am I good enough? I don't make music like, Tripp and Lecrae and Tadashi. And that's an insecurity that I need to deal with. I need to wrestle with. Who's gonna help me? And Fish was literally one of those people who helped me because we had an affinity for some of the same artists and some of the same sounds. And he would just encourage me, and he'd be like, man, you sound good over this. You sound good over that. Man, here's this beat. And I remember him producing many songs on Turn My Life Up. And I was like, man, you're gonna have to help me on this next album because like people expect now. It's like, okay, you're growing as an artist. Talent, everybody's first album is almost like, all right, this is dope, but we expect you to do.
Yeah.
I needed somebody, and Fish, along with you and Joseph, were, I think, 3 of the people who just took this album from being what it is, or would it possibly just taking it from something that would have just been a sophomore album to something that was to what a lot of people call a classic album. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, bro. And that brother was
a wealth of knowledge, bro. Perfection. A wealth of like musical knowledge and like his range of taste. Like people don't know, like that's what informed a lot of his producing abilities. Just like how he was constantly listening. He was always listening to different records. Like, Fish, how do you?
This dude, man, I am a better person and a better artist because of Fish.
Lion's Anthem is probably one of my favorite songs on the album because it really stretched my lyrical muscles. And this is that song. I was feeling myself a little bit because of the triple entendres, the double entendres. And it really made me think. A very poetic song. It's a poet's song. It's a MC song. But it's also a thinker song because what you hear is me like making correlations in our vocation to, you know, spiritual life. And so this song just was like very just gritty, like, ugh. And I think it made, you can't come soft on a song like that. You can't be like, yo, I'm out here walking in the park. Now I gotta go home because it's dark. You can't do that kind of stuff. You gotta bring it. You gotta bring the fire. Song is produced by Alex Medina. Here is Alex Medina talking about the song.
Because I feel like honestly I was on my like Swiss Beats like Showtime like vibe right there too. Because that was like 2010 too. I was rapping back then too. I was just like, cause I remember we did the famous remix. But yeah, I was just like, man, I'd love to see like just some more like just party kind of up-tempo record for you.
Yeah. You push me, bro. You push me, and I appreciate that.
Erica Kumbo, talented sister. Here she is talking about the song.
I remember Famous. I remember I actually did that one at my house. Like I heard a reference and I was like, oh snap, this is really dope. Like, you know, so I tried to just bring as much life to it as possible that I could do on my end. I just remember it being really dope and just being able to sit in the process of everything and then to see people's reactions afterward, like it was dope.
All right, so Shut Us Down was probably the second most popular song. And two reasons why. One, it's featuring Lecrae, and you know, songs that feature Lecrae, people are, you know, they love him. He's an amazing artist, so they flock to that song, and he killed it. I'm not gonna lie, like he smashed that verse. The other reason why is because it's a very rock heavy song, so we made that song with the intention of it crossing over to like CCM markets. And so Joseph Preslazny, or it goes this way, Preslazny. We got connected with After Edmond and G-Rock, who's a producer in Florida. It was lit, or it was a bop, as the kids say, a bop. That's what they say, right? Hey, we could be more. We could be more. This easily is one of my favorite songs ever. Not just on this album, but ever. Cheese Beats. God bless that man, because he blessed me with that song. JR came through, blessed the vocals. Diamond came through, bless the vocals. You're blessed. You're blessed. Okay? Everybody's you're blessed. All right? And so very seldom do you have a song where the label's like, hey, we need a single. Okay? It has to be hot. And the artist is like, I'm going to give you a single. And then the fan base is like, I like this single. I wanted to write a song that I felt can be played at weddings. People can walk down the aisles to. It's a song where people will come up to me and be like, hey, I want to propose to my girlfriend on stage. And I was like, of course, I'm not going to get in the way of this, because 10 years from now, I'll be able to say people were proposing to my song on stage. What kind of idiot would I be to say no to this opportunity? I'm not that idiot. You're blessed. You're blessed. And I also didn't want to over spiritualize it, because I felt like all the songs that I would hear like Christians make, it was like, girl, I love you because Jesus first loved me. I love you because you know he first loved me. And I was like, we get it. Jesus loves us.
How did you feel about being a part of like the shifting of how people saw love songs, bro?
I feel like I've always wanted to cover the whole sphere of life with my craft. And so I look at my wife, 14 years of marriage, and I'm like, yo, that song for me is still ringing like true, like we're happily married. And so when I think about the aspect of singing about planting the seed of those who understand love from a different angle or from its source, like I take pride in that, bro.
All right, mercy on me, my man GP, London bruv, yeah. I was gonna try to do my English accent, but nah. Bless this song, Chinua Hawk, who has also sung on Kanye's stuff, Talib Kweli's stuff, and Sho Baraka's stuff. I mean, it just sounded natural. Kanye, Talib, Shabara. This song is probably another one of my favorites in the sense that it was one of the first songs where I felt I got to be able to talk about the pain and the sorrow we experience as human beings, and not pain and suffering and admitting that we're suffering is a bad thing. My bones are wasting away, but God is still good. I can still experience joy while talking about this pain in a real valid way. And you know what? I may be here for a moment. Life sucks sometimes, but Jesus is still good and he's still faithful, and there's hope at the end of this tunnel.
Perception may be who I am and what I am. I thank God because I'm black.
Now on to probably one of the more controversial songs, but this is the intro. It's "I'm Black" by my man Tom Asen, but Adam Thomason. Here we are talking about this particular song.
What do you remember about writing that particular piece?
Yeah, so when I heard the song, I was like, yo. I was like, oh, this is what we talking about in 2010 in the Christian subculture? You know, everybody was like underground, proud black.
Underground proud black.
When you hit me with that song and I'm listening to it, I got to sit in this before I even go into if there's something to critique. From that, and then I'm hearing the content, I'm like, oh, he's being honest about his struggle. And you know, I don't even ever think I told you this. You were someone from just a friend standpoint that I really admired for your boldness and I would say your proudness of being black. So when I heard the song, I was like, oh, he had those struggles? I was like, yo. So it was a lot of that to where I was like, I ain't even know. I if you would have asked me before I heard that song, did Show ever struggle with this? I was like, nah, he came out the womb proud.
He came out the womb proud. Afro picking his hair. Oh, yeah. No, that was not the case, my man.
Then I was like, yo, I've always had this musing, these thoughts on this thing of like, what defines us as being black? You know, is it the struggle? Is it the skin? Is it, you know, I thought of the whole Malcolm X, Spike Lee, the definition of black, baneful, sullen. You know, I had those images in my head. And I thought of the theological position of, does blackness come because God has called us black, or are we comparing ourselves to a lighter version or whatever?
So My Life, which is produced by DJ Official, Pro, though he didn't produce this song, or Derek Minor as he's known now, he gave it some melody and he gave vocals to the hook. And it just really became something special. And I think with those two individuals, both being producers and aficionados of music, it pushed me to really write something that I thought was meaningful, that had depth, that could connect to people. And I wanted to just talk about my experience growing up, you know. Here are some clips with me talking to friends about this particular song.
I think I had just signed. But your boy in the worst case. You know, you are this creative genius. So then you're like, yo, hop on this. And I'm like, all right, let's see.
Thank you, man.
You know, and I tried to figure out so many different things. But what I think the thing I've always respected about your art is just the honesty. So like just the way it was, my approach to it in that aspect was just trying to just be honest and just capture. And that's just, I guess that's the producer in me, is always trying to capture and serve the artist best. I think if there was anything that I remember that out of that particular song, that actually also was the first song that I sang on or melodically. Like I took some risk with that mug, bro. Like, cause my catalog up until then, I wasn't doing the melodic hook thing. It was all rap triplets.
But what the Pro at the time, Derek now, bruh, he issue with that hook. I was just like, yo, it's so cinematic. It felt like a classic song. Like I do film now, and it still is a song that I want to use for one of my films because it just has no period shelf life.
Me, Myself, and Not. Here's a song that I liked, but I don't know if people really liked it because I don't, you could tell if a song is hot because you get a lot of like, yo, this song's my jam, or people tweeting or people texting. But this is one of those songs that I don't think anybody used to talk about, and I don't know why I like it. It's different. It's different. It has some interesting sounds, but I think Cheese killed it, and I like this song. It's just fun, and every now and then I like to take risks. I like to be like, you know what? Let me try something different. And this is one of those songs that really stands out because there's not a lot of music that sounds like this. But I like to agree with Cheese when he says this.
You were too far ahead.
Come on.
You were too
Come
far
on.
ahead.
Come on,
I think
Cheese.
it's a little advanced. Yeah, come on.
Talk about it. Talk about how I'm ahead of the time.
I think it was just a little bit far ahead.
Liar's Anthem. Whew! So we had Lion's Anthem, and now we have a Liar's Anthem. And the Liar's Anthem probably goes harder than the Lion's Anthem. I'm sorry. Evil sometimes wins. You know what I mean? Love don't always win. You know what I mean? But love wins in the end. It just won the battle. It didn't win the war. And Alex Medina, he smashed on this one. Here is Alex and I talking about the concepts behind Liar's Anthem.
It's like they're like, I just saw one reason. Like, yeah, I want with this album, I want to put you on the map. And you and Fish produced most of the stuff on this album. So I guess I owe you some credit for that.
Man, bro, hey, you deserved it because you was making heat, man. You was making heat. And one song in particular, like I said, was my favorite song. Is Liar's Anthem, man. Like when it started off as a joke from a skit that I wrote for Reach
The
Records.
Desiring God one?
Yeah, the Desiring God skit.
I know. I remember like Joseph. Me and Joseph Joseph Perlazny, who I co-produced the record with.
Yeah,
incredible, talented producer. Yeah, we and him were going back and forth, and I remember somehow like that clip from that commercial, pimpin', murder, so like came to be. I don't know if you remember that was in the like.
I just remember. I think the way that I recall it was, I remember just sending you. I was like, bro, I have no idea of music. I don't know what. I just know I want this clip and I want to turn it into a song. And you sent me back something. I was like, oh.
So yeah, I remember getting that audio clip, and that's something like I think personally, like me, like I've always I've thrived on in terms of like taking existing content or existing pieces of music, and how do I create them and merge them and sample, like do what hip hop is hip, like, and sample it and recreate it and turn it into something new. And so I grabbed that clip, and I definitely, I'm sure I've tried different approaches where there's like a more trap approach and stuff, but like I found this like breakbeat that the tonally and like the mood and the feeling matched like kind of where I feel like you were wanting to go with this record. And married them to, and that's when I began to build something. And I added like some pads to it, and then I sent it to Joseph, and then Joseph added a ton of like string works and like added that greater aggression to that record. And it's the beautiful part of like just making music overall and just like creating.
Boys, silly boys.
So I love interludes. I grew up listening to albums that had interludes. Some of them were theatrical, some of them comical, but sometimes you just had just a little preamble that led you into the song to give context. And boy, oh boy, did my boy Propaganda give us boys, okay? And the spoken word prowess of this man. This man just gave us knowledge, he gave us rhythm, he gave us jazz tonality, he gave us a little Langston Hughes, a little Claude McKay, a little Saul Williams, okay? And like I remember meeting Prop in 2007, and we actually was beefing. Interesting story. We was beefing with one another because we felt like we came from different camps. But then once we realized we were both from the same part of Cali, and we were like, yo, and then we started to talk, we started to realize, yo, why do we have these silly beefs? Silly boys. When I think about Joseph Perlazny and his contribution to the album, this is the epitome of it. This is a dude who not only loved hip hop but loved rock. And so here's us. Here is Joseph Preslazny and I talking about this song.
I think I texted you the Jay-Z Black Album joint. I was like, man, I just watched the documentary for the Black Album, man. We got to do a joint, like a rock joint.
Oh no, yeah. I was gonna say you were my Rick Rubin on that song. You were like, I was like, you know what? And when you sent that text to me, I was like, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I think we can pull it off because you had a rock background.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, let's figure out how to make a rock hip hop. And then I remember talking about a beatbox, and you was like, you should just do it.
Yeah, you're like, dude, and that's what honestly. So listening back today, I was like, I would have never done the beatbox as the hook with the bump bump.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, it creates such good like dynamics for the song. Like even today, I was like, this is super dope. It's like hard verses and then got some
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Look at you. Hey, you got me all nostalgic out here. I forgot about that the beatboxing part.
I know, you killed it, bro.
Was asking me how many shorties I tap. I know you get a lot of girls even in gospel rap. I wasn't too shocked if my discernment is right. He the type that hasn't seen a brother honor his wife. So instead of calling him stupid and causing a fight,
You know what? Oh well, it's still a good day. Oh well, it's still a good day. Tina Dula giving me Billie Holiday vibes, giving me old school jazz vibes, you know what I'm saying, on the Oh Well track. But then you got Joseph and his peoples playing the rock. So you got rock on there. You got a little sax on there. You know what I mean? You got the drums from Fish. Fish produced a mess out of this song. You know what I mean? Him and Joseph killed this track. You know what I mean? Probably one of the first songs that I got political on a very subversive level. I was giving y'all political bars. I was giving y'all like justice bars on the low though. It was like low. I was like, I'm gonna come through, say a little something, but I'm like, and y'all weren't gonna be ready for it, right? The Rising. So I love this song. Chike Beats produced it. The interesting thing about this song is I called Erica. I was like, yo, Erica, come through the studio because I love your vocals and I think you'll be able to just give this thing something that is missing. However, I waited to the last minute to write the intro, the hymn that leads into the song. And literally, as I was driving in the car from home to the studio, I just wrote that thing real quick. And I was like, this is going to be terrible. And she's going to be like, I'm not singing this mess. But she took it. She sang. She was harmonizing with herself like she was Layla Hathaway up in that thing. I was like, what you doing, girl?
Yeah.
And then I remember The Rising. I think I was at the studio with you.
Right.
And you were like, yeah, I need I told you, boy. And like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And then doing, I think it was the hymn that you wrote before it, like right before and all that stuff. Just putting everything together. It was just, I just remember it being really dope.
And it leads into The Sun Is Out, which Adam says he gave me the inspiration to this song. But, basically here's, a little dialogue around this particular song.
I'll tell you our conversation. Now you had a line from another song where you say the sun's out.
A Great Day to Die.
I was listening to that and I go, yo, that would be a dope sample just in a song. I wasn't even thinking lines. I was like, that would be a dope sample in a song.
Okay.
So I took that sample, brought it into GarageBand, and did some cheesy, the sun's out, like just loop the yada yada, and sent it to you. I was like, man, what do you think about the potential of this idea being a song? I was like, I know it's trash. So I ain't even say it. And you sat there, you was like, you know what? Man, I think it might be something here. Let me send it to Fish. That was our conversation.
Okay.
And then it came back. I was like, man, this man, what came back, I was like, this man is a wizard. Like,
I remember, was it Impact, the conference?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
that one didn't come to mind, but that wasn't one of them that came to mind. But now that you say it, yes.
Yeah, and Tripley was there, so like for us to be able to do that together live, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Abound, darkness can no longer hold me down. Hold me down, hold me down. It's a new day now, the sun is out.
In this world, not of it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not the biggest fan of this song, and it's not because the artists are not good. It's just because sometimes what happens is you think you have a great idea, and you get a producer like Juice 2020, and you get dope artists like Benja, Swift, and Tadashi, and you put them together, and you think, yo, this would be fresh. I think the problem is I tried to make another like single kind of anthem song, something else anthemic, and it just didn't go well for me. Now you guys may love the song. Love the song, King. Love the song, Queen. You do you. But for me, it just doesn't hit. But these dudes are talented. Sister Honey, who sang on it, gave us dope vocals. I would have loved to rethink the song and maybe scrap it from now. I don't know. I'll try to be honest with you. I didn't like the song. I don't like the song. Half of Me is another song like Mercy on Me, where I'm trying to pull from some of my Psalms moments. I think when artists write about the dark, it helps illuminate about who they are, and people get to connect with the authentic them. And Half of Me is that song. I'm talking about the pain of losing a relative, as which I lost my father years before that. Talking about being told that you have a son or a child that has disabilities, which me and my wife had to go through. And what do you feel in those moments? Half of me just walked away, but the other half is trying to stay, is trying to figure out how do I reconcile all the mess that's happening in my life. Muchi Ukebu gave me some amazing spoken word.
Yeah, but just when you're opening up about your life and like the line in the second verse where you're talking about your son and you said, no matter what, I'm still unashamed of my son. I remember recording the vocal to that. Yeah. And there were a few times where I remember recording vocals and actually like getting emotional or feeling something or getting like goosebumps. But that was definitely like, I think because the studio process on that song was so strong that it was like, that's just that song I put on and I like get teary eyed every time I hear it because it's like Shobaraka speaks the language of you just were saying stuff that people weren't saying at the time.
Forever is Tomorrow. This is the first time I got to collaborate with Jamie Portier or Ali or whatever his name is this week, but the amazing producer. So if you listen to Talent of 10th, or you listen to the narrative, then you've heard my brother Jamie or James Portier. And so the song is actually produced by D Free though, but my man James is singing on the hook, and it's just talking about the frailty, the futility of human life, how tomorrow is not promised, and therefore eternity is always chasing us down. And how do we live our lives in the paradigm knowing that forever is tomorrow? And so I wanted to proposition us with some questions, not only in the light of friendships, but in like your sexual relationships and in your spiritual relationships. So this song is special for me because it has a very jazzy feel. D Free killed it. It gives you all kind of like Coltrane vibes. Sit down, drink a little Pinot, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Be a grown man. That's what started Jesus in Bow Ties. That right there. That's when I grew hair on my chest. That song right there. So those are the 17 songs that's on the standard release. The deluxe edition had 4 additional songs. A song that a lot of you guys remember, Kobe Bryant on them, because, you know, paying homage to the greatest to ever do it. Respect to the Bean. A remake of a song that I released years before that called I See the Lord. So Alone with my man Benja, and then I had a song called Work. And so those songs were added to the deluxe version. Great songs. Some of them you may not be able to find online. You can probably only listen on YouTube, or if you buy the physical copies. It's time that you get physical. Physical. I know I'm cutting, cuz. So this was 2010. It's 2020. 10 years ago, the Lord gave me inspiration to write music that I thought, was out of the offering of my heart and soul, and it seemed to touch people. And I didn't write it to be a trailblazer. I didn't write these songs to be some sort of luminary. I wrote it because this is the life that I was living. This was life in the valley for me, and when I ascended the hill to proclaim all the goodness that the Lord has revealed to me, I was just hoping that this could bless people's lives, and it seems like it did. So share with me what this album meant to you 10 years ago, what it means to you today, and hopefully I'll be able to exchange, comments and whatnot. So thank you guys for supporting. I'd like to give a couple shout outs to Alex Faith for doing a lot of work behind the scenes. I'd like to give a shout out to Benja for the mixing. I'd like to give a shout out to Reach Records for the support that they gave. Who else can I thank? My wifey, because she was dope, because she's a baby. I shouldn't put that on. I shouldn't say baby. But she's bad though. My mom. I'd like to give a shout out to the people who called the police on me when I was just outside hustling, trying to feed my daughter. You know what I'm saying? I'd like to get a shout out with all the folks I got in a fight with in West Philly, so I had to go move with my auntie in Bel Air. You know what I mean? I like to give a shout out to all the haters, because haters, they inspire you, and if you ain't got haters, you ain't doing something right. You know what I mean? I like to give a shout out to all the girls who, didn't want me, but now I'm hot, they all on me. I like to give a shout out to all the people who, after I left Reach, they was like, oh, you in the Illuminati, you don't love Jesus no more, and 8 years later, 10 years later, they're like, oh, show, never mind, I was wrong, you hot. What kind of Illuminati am I in? Because clearly, it must be the broke Illuminati. There must be levels to the Illuminati, because I'm on the entry level, because there's no benefit that comes with me being a part of this cult. Lastly, I'd like to give a shout out to the Lions and Liars crew, the people who was holding me down during the podcast years. When we was podcasting, when one people podcasting, you know what I mean? My man Sean, was it Ritz, was it Caress, it was JP, Damon, Nasia, David Perdue. I'm sure I may have forgot somebody, but guess what? We out here, okay? Lions and Liars. Get your L's out. Get your L's. Get your L's in the air. This is counterculture rapping. False idol smashing. Tap your friend, ask him, is this line attached?
Get your L's in the air.